Hey, what's up guys? It's Kale Brock here. I'm a surfer and a filmmaker and you're watching How to Rip. In this series I'm going to be sharing some insights into my coaching experience and what I've learned taking beginner surfers through to intermediate and intermediate surfers to high level intermediate and even advanced. This is essentially a glimpse into my Patreon membership group where people get access to 2 of these surf analysis clips every single week. So make sure you check it out in the link in the description below. You can also join me on Instagram at Kale's Broccoli, but for now, let's jump into the surfing. Yo. Alrighty, Mike, let's have a chat about what went on today. Main thing, entry into the wave. I think giving yourself a little bit of angle to work with is going to be pretty key. And also a little bit of space beneath the body. And I'm going to give you some exercise at the end for that. This is what we want to work towards, is that clean little entry into the wave so that we can shortcut that bottom turn, be bottom turning almost as we're taking off and really get nice and high and sort of roll through it. If we look at these two side by side, the main differences I see is the space beneath the body. If you notice, if we watch it again, you'll see that arch in my back where it's like a tabletop, a curved tabletop. That allows a lot of space for the legs to come through underneath, and I think just ends up being a cleaner takeoff. Now that's easier said than done, particularly for you being quite a tall guy. So I think yoga and stuff is really going to help that, and just working out proportions. I love that entry there. So I think that was quite a good goal, a good movement for you to work towards. And I think when the waves get a bit bigger and easier to work with, that's something that you'll be able to do quite regularly, especially if we can get you on some good open faces. Notice though, how even on this wave here, you're almost taking off as if you're about to turn left, about you're surfing left. Must be a bit of an instinct or habit with you to take off as towards the left a little bit. Now, I think we can probably have more success on right-handers particularly if we overcome that and sort of reverse that to a 45-degree angle towards the right. I think that'll have quite a big impact on the outcomes of your rides. So again, this is the second session here, super tricky waves, but I think that right there is pretty good. For you to be able to do that on a half a foot wave, like a quarter of a foot wave, crazy small, that's pretty good. And I love the look of that compared to that. The surfer over here on the right looks a lot more ready, looking down the line, better angle on the wave. I think that's a lot better. So here are some exercises that'll help you work on your pop-up and your entry. And I look forward to seeing your progression, mate. I'll be in touch. Okay, buddy, let's have a chat about the weekend. The main thing that I wanted to chat about was your entry into waves, and then we'll touch on speed flow as well. Entry and paddling and stuff looks pretty good. It's just this moment here where we see a little bit of a hiccup, and those little adjustments you have to make. It's not until then that you really look down the line and are ready to get going. And if you have a look at that, your board is right down the bottom of the wave at that point. So it does become a lot more difficult to then catch up and get into the power zone so that you can ride down the wave with more momentum and potential. It's quite hard to see how the waves sort of pitted off without you. So ideally what I'm looking for is this sort of thing here. A nice clean takeoff. It's a low transition straight into a high part of the wave so that you can then tag those little oncoming sections that we saw. Now, if we have a look at these side by side, you'll see the big difference, and I think it's to do with the hips. There's not enough mobility there. So if we have a look there, that's looking pretty good. I talked about pausing in this position for a moment and just allowing you to be nice and forward facing. If we allow it to run out a little bit more, what do we see? It's that really rounded body, but the rounded back, which is sort of holding things back a little bit. There's no lever under you. There's not enough space for the legs to come through. So we really want to work on that arch back position. I just released a video on YouTube, which I'll try to remember to send you. It's called 3 Mistakes Destroying Your Pop-Up or something like that, and I go into this quite in depth. So there's some good exercises there for you in terms of stability, but I'm also going to give you some mobility stuff here at the end of this clip too from my friend Nick. So notice the difference in the outcome of those waves. They're quite significant purely because of that clean entry into the wave. We really want to be able to pop up nice and high and be sort of trimming along. See how there's that nice pause there before I pop up? Trimming along, and it's just that low transition straight into a half turn. Instead, you've got to go through quite a big rotation there to get back up into the lip, and by the time you do, it's kind of all over. The wave's kind of finished. And that was pretty consistent across the day. There were a couple where, after we had a chat, you did correct that, which was really nice. And I'll play those in a moment. Cool, so I wanted to chat about this one here. This was nice because the wave sort of waited for you a little bit, so you made your adjustment, okay, and then it started to kick into gear, which was really nice. We want to clean up that little speed flow a little bit, so that's why we did the surf skating. You definitely sort of tone things down during the skate, but remember, it's picking up that tennis ball nice and delicately off the face of the wave and then extending to drop it in a basket at the top. You know, it's a pretty basic movement, but it is hard to coordinate sometimes. So we really want to bring that back to basics. I don't mind if it doesn't work out for a few waves, because not every wave is going to be conducive to you getting low and then extending. But I think if we get those fundamentals in place, then it's going to be a lot more positive moving forward, and you'll have more options once the waves do actually sort of cooperate, which is really nice. Cool, so I wanted to highlight a couple of these. You know, that quicker takeoff there at the end of the in our second session, beautiful. It would have been nice to see that wave keep going, much better than what we saw earlier. And we had some opportunities like this as well, where you're up and riding before you get to the bottom of the wave. And overall, they were just much more successful waves. So the difference for you between a great wave and an average wave is how you pop up. So that's what we really need to work on, I think, to start with. See that adjustment there, and then by the time it's happened and you're ready, it's already at the bottom. I just want to pull up this little side by side. I think it's this one here. Yeah, so this one was before we chatted about the pop-up, and then this one is after. Quite significant. See how you gave yourself a little bit of extra direction there on the wave? If we compare them side by side, again, both waves were pretty average in themselves, but the way you surfed it, much better on the left. See how you had more angle, and you're already up and moving, you're in that power zone. If there was more face on that wave, I dare say it would have been one of your best ones. So keep in mind, that's your key.
When it comes to popping up, one big thing I see with beginners is that they get really flustered and try and do everything very, very quickly. So they're going to disorientate themselves and upset their equilibrium on their surfboard. And when you're paddling like a maniac and not actually paddling efficiently, that can really upset your equilibrium on the surfboard. So for one, you're starting on the back foot. And then I see people getting up and standing up, really trying to be quickly, ending up being heavy-footed and being too tall, too high. I think you want to be getting up slower and lower. Instead of like a pop-up or a jump-up, I think of like, how can you slide up to your feet? For starters, I would really focus on getting the hips open, especially if you're surfing at a beginner or intermediate level as an adult. There's a lot of tension to undo before we have that efficiency and that fluidity. So I'd really spend some time opening the hips. So one nice hip stretch would be just the normal lunge. And I'd also exercise out of perfect range of motion. So I'd be allowing myself to extend the knees beyond the toes, the front leg, whilst you're opening up the opposite hip. I'd also be playing around with some circular motions. Then you can transition that from a downward dog to stepping 1 foot forward to the outside of your hand at a time. You can do that variable tempo and intensity as well. It can be fast, it can be slow. You can add a little bit of a push-up with that, which I'll demonstrate. So I'd definitely be concentrating on opening the hips. I'd definitely be concentrating on getting a nice open and extension in the spine, particularly the upper back. Open upper back, strong lower back, strong set of glutes, open hips.
Thanks so much for watching. If that video helped you, be sure to drop a line in the comments down below. What else are you struggling with your surfing? Make sure you check out the links in the description as well to my Patreon account, my Instagram, and my YouTube channel, all of which have some incredible surfing resources for you too. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you soon.